Hey, it's Tom from Tom's Tunes. Today we're talking about laying a floor and where to start. So the first place that I'm going to start is in the back. I'm going to make sure that my first board laying down, this happens to be a full board, is going to run 48 inches, 4x8 sheet of plywood. And I'm going to make sure that my first board will land halfway on this cross member. I've got my tar tape on. I'm going to leave this top piece of paper on there. And where I'm going to start is getting my backboard on, getting it centered on this cross member as well as in the back. Then I'm going to self-tapping screw into this back cross member. Then I'll show you where we go from there in terms of peeling up the tar tape and getting the first board in place. But first things first, everything's got to get centered and the back row of self-tapping screws have to go in. I'm putting my first board down, my backboard. Something to keep in mind, and this is different on every boat, but your cross members and how they relate to the pontoon, like this one here, they're not always the exact same distance, unfortunately. So that's why I start with this backboard and getting this squared up so I can run the rest of them forward, trying to keep them squared up to the backboard. That way everything stays square the whole way. So I'm getting my board centered side to side, and then I'll also make sure I'm centered on this cross member here. What I've done now is I've got everything measured. On this boat in particular, it happens to be a 1/4 inch of overhang. In this part, this cross member that's going to support my seam is 1.5 inches in length, and I've got exactly 3/4 of an inch coming across on each side. So I know that this board is nice and square. Where I move from here, if you come around to the back side, is I'm going to put every 16 inches, I'm going to put one screw, a self-tapping screw towards the side, and then every 16 inches across, so it's 7 in total, will run across this backboard. If you have a little bit of aluminum showing here, don't worry about it. As long as you're square at the front and on each side, you're going to be okay, because this rub rail is going to protect and cover that. You'll never see this little bit of aluminum sticking out. Our board is in place, we clamped it down. On this particular boat, the rear cross member is quite a bit thicker aluminum, so I did pre-drill. I'm gonna run my self-tapper. Make sure it's nice and flush. I'm gonna run one on this corner, and then across the boat on the other side, I'm gonna run mine here too. I can remove my clamps. Since this board is now in place and we know it's not moving, I can lift it and peel back my tar tape. I'll get up there, I'll press that front edge of the board down. I'll continue all my screws here. A quick tip, what we recommend is if you have a chalk line at home, or they're cheap, you can pick one up for 10, 20 bucks. We're gonna use a chalk line to run across, make marking and using my self-tappers even easier as I work my way up the boat. I'm just going to keep repeating this process. My next board will rest here. I'll screw in the back, line up the front, then I can peel the tar tape and continue doing the same process the whole way forward with the boat, whether you're using self-tappers or a deck bolt, or on a crest if you're using a 3-inch deck bolt. That will all work the same. I'm always going to get my back edge of the board secured on the tar tape, then peel the next one, secure that board down, keep working forward. This backboard is completely in and self-tapping screwed. What we did is lined up our cross member with our chalk line, and you can see the red chalk line all the way across. Then all I have to do is lay a tape measure on there, mark my points to self-tapping screw into the cross members, and I'm good to go. Then we moved forward to our second board going forward. What I did is clamped it in place when everything was nice and snug and lined up, and I've already screwed that seam together. So now, even with the clamps in place, just like we did on the backboard, I lift the front edge, I peel my tar tape, and then I can drop that board right down and keep moving forward. Pretty soon we'll have a deck on this boat.